Yo, what's going on? This is Kevin Ross, and you know I got soul.
Just want to congratulate you on the release of The Awakening.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
So I remember we interviewed you pretty early back. This was, I believe, at the Essence Festival a couple of years ago. We didn't really know who you were at the time, but we had seen you perform and we kind of took an interest to you. So just talk about your journey since Essence.
Wow, man, that was back in 2014. I had I literally was like gearing up for the Maxwell tour. Back then, that was gonna be my first tour, and that was like super nerve-wracking for me because I was the artist that went from doing a show every 3 months to now I was doing 5 to 6 shows a week. 30-minute sets with an R&B soul legend, which I was honored. But I knew that this was going to either make or break me as an artist. And it told me everything that I needed to know. That in order for me to last and to endure in this business, you definitely have to put in the work, and you definitely have to be persistent and consistent about it,
Yep. So after that, you released Dialogue in the Gray, which, I love that project, but it didn't seem like a lot of people caught on to it. So was that frustrating for you at the time?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I understood, what role that my music was going to play. At the time I had, 2,000, Instagram followers, like zero presence on Facebook, social media. My social media presence wasn't strong. So, how could I expect for anybody to have known about it? I was just excited for people to discover it, and no one really knows how long the discovery process will last. But, I still feel like I'm a part of the discovery process. I'm still on the journey of discovery. It's a big world out there. And so for me, I'm just blessed to be able to put out music in the meantime, and for people that have known me since 2014, if not earlier, to watch the progress, to watch the journey, to watch that it's not easy, and that I can become a living testament to, anything is possible, with due time and with a certain amount of concentrated energy.
Yep. So afterwards, you had a lot of success with the Glade Christmas commercial. Felt like you were building a lot of momentum there, and then everything just kind of slowed down. So just talk about what that time period was like for you.
Oh, man, that was really, really tough for me because I had to recalibrate. I had to understand that not only was I an artist, a singer, songwriter, but I'm a businessman, and I have to look at myself as such. I have to look at my entity, my artistry, everything that I stand for as a business. And during that time that I had the Glade commercial, I didn't understand the theory of momentum. I didn't understand the theory of, taking control of your own business. And, I had to go through that. So it took me about a year, and I came back with Be Great first. That was kind of like the entrance piece, and it was, the intro to the album. So I felt like it was necessary. Grey's Anatomy, they picked it up. And so I felt like God was giving me an opportunity to test this theory that I've been practicing for almost a year and really put it into work.
And I remember you were also on the NBA 2K soundtrack.
Yes, Stronger. I think that was within the same year. That was summer 2016. So it felt like everything was coming together. The doors were opening. And so, it's not a race. It's definitely a marathon. And so for me, I have to take my strides when the strides come. And so when there's a time where I need to learn something or recalibrate, I have to take that time and still keep my head up and have people understand that just because things slow down or when you're not hearing anything about somebody doesn't mean that it's over.
Right, and building a social media presence is a challenge for a lot of artists nowadays, but you kind of took a different approach. You've been recording these 90s and 2000s R&B covers. Just talk about how that idea came about.
Well, honestly, it was really organic. I had a conversation with a lot of my peers, and so they were just like, man, we really enjoy 90s music. We wish that it would come back. And so for me, I'm like, well, 90s is the 90s at the end of the day. But we do have to pay tribute to those who made this magical music during that time. And I felt like, that the artistry, their music was being lost. And so I felt like, I was like, cool, I'm able to do mashups. I feel like I'm musical enough to put together these tributes. And it was so much music from the 90s because I was actually going to tackle it in like one acapella. And I was like, wait a minute, let me do this in like 2-year increments. And so I started with 1990 to 1992. And around the same time, the new edition biopic was coming out. And so I think that definitely helped with the traction. It helped with awareness. And so, I started to see the growth of my social media through all aspects from Twitter to Instagram to Facebook to YouTube.
Yep, and then of course you released Long Song Away, which was your single. Did really well on radio, hit #1 on Urban AC. So I guess just talk about the success of the single.
Well, honestly, there was a conversation that needed to be had between me and my team before the record even came out. I had Long Song Away for 3 years prior to it being released. I made Long Song Away during the time I made Dream and, all the other records for Dialogue and the Gray. So I had all that stuff, sitting on a hard drive. And, they asked me the question to say, do you want to go this route? Do you want to go Urban AC? Because at the time, people just felt like it was just a trap, that it was something where it was like, this is where older people exist. And, there was nothing there for me as a young artist. And so for me, I took it as an opportunity to say, listen, my generation is growing up. The generation that's almost about to turn 30, 25 on up, it's not just about the turn up, so it's not just about getting lit. But we actually going through issues. The things that are going on in the world, we can't turn a blind eye to. And so I felt like it was a great opening for me to come in. And then, with the prior success of Ro James' Permission, it gave me the opportunity to say, well, cool, let's shoot the shot. Because ultimately at that time, it was all about visibility. Instead of waiting on the moment to go rhythmic or Hot 100, I'm like, listen, let's start now. The goal is to dominate every chart by the time that I'm finished. But let's start here. These are the people that championed Dialogue and the Gray, when it came out. These are the people that championed me when I was on tour with Maxwell. They've always been there. They've always supported, and I'm speaking about the Urban AC audience. So why would I not start there? That's the music that I fell in love with, Quiet Storm, the whole format. And so, once we pressed go on the record, we really seen a great response from, all of the radio people, the DJs, the PDs. They really responded well. The audience responded well. And so I don't think that I expected for it to go #1. Honestly, I was just glad that I had a single out on radio. So to hear my parents call me, to hear family members call me to say that I have a record on radio and how proud they were of me was a feat, accomplished within itself. So I was just happy about that and overjoyed in the situation. I think God blessed me with the #1. It really had nothing to do with me, more so than, him just, fulfilling his promise to me that I believe that he spoke unto me a long time ago, and just remaining diligent and being steadfast, and no matter how long the journey was, that I was going to get to that point where, I was able to have a #1, which gives me motivation to go after more #1s and more formats.
Yep, and of course the success of Long Song Away has allowed you to release your debut album, The Awakening. I had a chance to review the album, and the one thing that kind of stood out to me was that, it didn't really follow any trends. It was just you kind of doing your own thing and drawing from some of your influences growing up. So just talk about the approach with that album.
Well, I wanted to stay true to who I was and how I fell in love with music. I think that I made a deal with myself as an artist. I said, if I'm going to do this artist thing, then I'm going to remain true to who I am. Now, remaining true to who you are and keeping your integrity, sometimes you're going to have to suffer. Sometimes you're going to have to wait a little bit longer because of the fact that they look at you, they look at your age, they look at how young and youthful you are, and say, how come you don't want to do, the music that's current? How come you don't want to do the music that's contemporary? And it's like, listen, man, the truth doesn't change the trend. And this is my truth. I've been making this music since, since I was a teenager. It's just a part of me. And I realized that nothing was going to change about that. It's not the fact that I'm incapable of writing these records, because I am capable of writing it for other artists. But for myself, I had to understand that as an artist, you have a platform. And your platform you have to be held accountable for. You just can't sing any kind of song and think that you can live with yourself. The message means a lot to people. To see the look and expression on people's faces when you're singing a certain song and how it resonates with them. I really felt responsible for it. So for me, I just wanted to remain true with the awakening, and for it to be a discovery project as well. I mean, all of my projects are going to be discovery projects until the whole world knows about me. So I think I'll be a discovery artist until the day that I die, even with millions and millions of supporters and fans and followers and all that, because I intend to go there. But I'll forever be curious. I'll forever discover new ways of creating music for myself, and and just hope for more people across the globe to discover my sound and music, and let people know that R&B is alive and well.
Dope. And man, I gotta ask you about the song "Don't Go." That's definitely one of our favorite songs of the year. So just talk about that song a little bit.
Well, I mean, I'm honored, because I seen that you gave me the editor pick for when it came out on the Long Song Away EP, man, which is super dope. And thank you once again, man. Truly honored. That's the second single. Really excited about that. And so it was a natural progression after Long Song Away. And once again, I had Don't Go for about 2 to 3 years. Just sitting on a hard drive. But once we decided on Long Song Away, and they asked, like, well, what's coming next after Long Song Away? And I was like, well, we could do this record or that record. And then I really went inside of my catalog and said, man, what about this one? And it just so happened to be Don't Go. So I played it for the team, and I actually jumped the gun, and I played it for a PD, actually, and they fell in love with it. And so that really kind of like put the fire under everybody to get the song mixed and mastered, and so now here we are, and it's one of people's favorites off of the album. So I'm really happy about it. I love the record. It's sensual, not sexual, as I would say.
We're just a little mad that the song didn't have a bridge on it, but it's all good.
but you know what? I think that for me, it was all about the vibe. It was all about not overcompensating and say, hey, let's reach a 3-minute mark. Let's reach this and let's do this. It was like, it feels good. I'd rather for people to keep replaying it over and over again because they can't get enough of it. And so maybe even in a live performance, you'll get a bridge, or maybe in an alternative version. Music is not finalized. It's always meant to be revisited and expounded upon. So you never know what you'll get out of it.
Right. And you were mentioning all these songs that were sitting in your hard drive for 2 to 3 years. Was there ever a point where you kind of were like, you know what, let me just keep these songs in the vault and go off and do a little more mainstream commercial music?
I mean, I think early on in the developmental process of me, like, I wasn't even creating an album then. I think just making records that I tried to do more contemporary music, and it just didn't fit. It didn't work on me, looking at myself in the mirror and say, does this look realistic? Does this sound realistic on you? Because you have to keep that in mind as well. And honestly, my contemporary, I'm planning on making my contemporary music, spread more to urban and, reach a broader audience, but it takes a lot of footwork. I think for a lot of urban mainstream audiences, they don't even know that certain artists like myself exist. So it's just about making yourself visible, not even just within the music of like on Spotify, but sometimes it's through my Instagram, sometimes it's through the Acapella, sometimes it's through, different avenues that I can use in order to, get the respect of others. I mean, NBA 2K played a big part, especially within that game demographic where people are hitting me like, yo, when are you going to release that song? It's like, man, I don't know. I was like, but please enjoy it on this platform, and some of them went to buy the album and they still support. So you just never know how you're going to reach the masses. The only thing that you can do is remain diligent and stay true to your art form and let the world catch up later.
And of course, the success of this single and this album has allowed you to go on tour. Just talk about the tour a little bit and what people can expect from that.
The Awakening Tour, my first date is May 24th in Chicago. We're doing 18 dates, I believe, give or take. I'm really excited, man, because this is my first time to do a headline tour, 45 minutes to an hour set. People are really going to get a full spectrum of who I am as an artist, who I am as a man, what I represent, what I stand for. And hopefully they leave out of there fulfilled, enjoyed, and inspired. That's the most important thing for me, is that whatever you want to do in life, I just want for people to be great at it. And not to say that you're going to be great instantaneously, because I definitely don't look at myself as anywhere near great compared to the people that I look up to and idolize. But I definitely am on the journey becoming something that is beyond myself. And so I just have to enjoy the process of it. And I want people to enjoy the process of me going through the changes and this tour that's coming to their city. So, they can go ahead and get them tickets.
Right, and you're one of the very few young male R&B artists left that's still making that traditional R&B that we grew up and loved. So just talk about how important it is for you to be at the forefront of that.
As far as where I lie within the forefront of it, the only thing I can do is represent what I represent. If I'm in the forefront of it, then so be it. But if I'm not, then, we'll champion whoever is in the forefront of it. As long as, I'm playing my part, I think that it's a blessing that I feel like there's a reemergence that's happening right now within the genre. The genre has always been, as far as I'm speaking on R&B, has always been progressive, since the 40s and the 50s when it was just blues, rhythm and blues into soul, into funk, to where Prince took it, to where Michael took it, to New Jack Swing, to where we are now, even within trap soul. I mean, it's transformed and it's reconfigured throughout the years, and I think that's the beautiful thing is that no matter what people can say about R&B, it's one of the most progressive genres that we have within American music, period.
Yep, absolutely, and that's all that I've got for you. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
Thank you guys for supporting me throughout the years, man. Like, it means the world. Like, thank you for taking me on even when, I was completely, unknown to the world and, just giving me a shot and having me appear on your site. Like, that stuff does not go overlooked, man. You guys have been there through the highs and the lows. And so I just look forward to, as I'm growing, watching you guys grow and just understand that, you will always have my support. And, thank you guys for continuing to champion the sound of R&B. Because not only does it mean a lot to me, but it means a lot to, the hundreds and hundreds of other artists who are, becoming and striving to be great and redefining the genre as it stands today.